Tulsa Mayor announces a $105 million reparations plan for the descendants of the 1921 race massacres. The Department of Justice has a justice problem. State of Michigan's educational rankings in reading and math. I'm Thomas Corley with Keith Pickens and Mike Miller. This is the What's Going On podcast. Thank you for listening. Hey, Keith, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, TC?
Mike Miller.
Hello, Mr. Corley.
What's always with the Mr. Corley stuff, man?
Here.
I got to be the comic relief sometimes.
I guess.
No, not sometimes.
With that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this week, reparations kind of came to focus on when I was, algorithms once again feeding me information. And I saw that in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the mayor has put out there that for the city to put into a trust $100 million, like $105 million for those descendants of the 1921 massacre.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of how I got to the point where I wanted to pick you guys' brain on reparations and what your thoughts are on it.
Okay.
Which one do you want to go first?
I know you did your homework, Mike. Go ahead and on reparations, because I know we all have feelings and opinions.
Yeah, we all got reparations. Reparations, yeah, reparations today, reparations tomorrow, and reparations forever, right?
Right.
Why? Okay, but now, okay, realistic. It's not going to happen, apparently under a fascist regime, but it's not going to happen. I know that many entities have introduced proposals for it to happen, and I'm in 100% agreement. I just don't think it's going to happen. But my vision of reparations, number one, it would be no federal taxes for any descendant, any African-American person, man, woman, even children, for the next 400 years. I know it sounds crazy.
I like it.
No federal income taxes, plus a $1 million payment to every individual, man, woman, and child of African-American descent. Even with those, that wouldn't be enough. That would not repay what they owed us.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Even if we did the taxes and did $1 million, not that I wouldn't take it. We would all take it, especially no federal income taxes. But it still wouldn't be enough to repay us in any way, shape, or form. Now, if I remember correctly, the Japanese got a cash payment.
$20,000.
$20,000. Okay. And that was, what, in the 1940s, early 50s? 50s. It had to be the 40s.
Okay.
And they went to the camps in the 40s, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right after Pearl Harbor was bombed.
So it had to be 50s or 60s or something like that.
Right, yeah. That was Pearl Harbor. That was around the time that we entered World War II. That's the catalyst that got us into World War II, was the bombing of Pearl Harbor.
Right.
But, yeah, reparations, I know different cities have introduced things. I know that the city of Detroit had some discussions around that, especially when they were talking about the I-75 or I-375, raising that back up to street level. So what you going to do with that land?
Right.
Is it going to go back to the African-American families that were bulldozed out for no reason other than to put in a freeway from that wasn't needed?
Yeah.
Now they want to turn around and make it land again. Fill it in. And,
But what was the benefit?
It's not ours.
What's people are real.
Nail around that. I followed that for a little while on the feed that I was getting, but I kind of went away when the last one I got, they just said, well, it's going to happen. It's going forward. No matter what the people were saying, the commitment is there.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
So leave it there to remind everybody of just what this government will do to bulldoze you out when you try to prosper within the rules of the democracy in which we live.
Now, is eminent domain no longer a factor these days, or?
It can be. I mean, eminent domain is one of those situations where if the government identifies a situation where they feel they need this land, that's not off the table.
Okay, it's not off the books. Okay,
to make people move in situations where the government deems they need that land or that territory or that area. But I just want to chime in real quick regarding reparations. And I talked a little bit off the mic, Tom, about reparations and how I feel. And I'll get to the skinny real quick. Like Mike, I don't think that it'll ever happen. And it's certainly been something that's been proposed, bandied about, bills drawn up since 1865 around what we as a people deserve. And I do feel that we deserve it. I strongly feel that we deserve it. And to Mike's point, there'll never be enough cash outlay, land, medical coverage, education, and all those things are on the table. We should have all of those things. And I love that idea about not paying taxes, Mike, because everything that we now experience in our country was built on the back of slaves, Black people who look like the three of us. And I just don't think that there's enough compassion around what we really mean to this country from then till now. And I really don't think the feeling about us as a people has changed much from then to now. And that's a lot of years, right? So I just think that it's never going to be taken seriously. I think that they consider it a front for us to have the audacity to even think we deserve reparations. But there's been, going back to 1865, there was a proposal that Andrew Jackson, then the president, because General Sherman proposed that there should be reparations for us. But Andrew Jackson, in his infinite wisdom, decided that we didn't deserve it. And so he stifled that bill or stopped that bill before it could even go forward. There have been many years since then where reparations was proposed. I'm looking at something now where the NAACP, as recent as 2019, talked about reparations in education and so forth, so that we could have a semblance of being made whole, because to the point that was made earlier by Mike again, we'll never really be made whole. But the fact is, it's just a shame that they don't deem us worthy. And the Japanese, like Mike said earlier, were able to get $20,000 per person. In 1988, there was $1.2 billion awarded to 60,000 Japanese for the time that they spent in internments. We all know the Native Americans were made whole. Well, again, I'm using that term loosely because they never were made whole. They took the land from the Native Americans. But at least they said, what we're going to do is we're going to give you land. Not only that, we're going to provide for health care for you. We're going to make sure that you're provided education. And then in a lot of ways, they have laws separate and aside from laws of the United States of America, particularly where they live. And so, there was enough conscience by Americans or Caucasian Americans, because those are the ones who had the power and continue to have the power, to provide reparations for those ethnic or race groups. But yet we built this country literally on our backs, and they still today, 2025, don't feel that we're deserving of any restitution or reparations. And so I'm not optimistic, Mike. I'm not optimistic, Tom. I don't see it in my lifetime. But, just for the sake of how things have gone over, the last, in terms of how we've been treated, I just don't think that we'll ever get any consideration because, they've never really given us any consideration before, and it hasn't changed. And, I don't want to get too deep into that whole MAGA thing, but when they talked about making America great again, it had nothing to do with people that look like, the three of us. And so, if you think we even had a chance to get reparations, if we continue to go in the direction that Trump will have us go in, that's so far off the table now that you almost might not even want to speak on it. But yeah, reparations is something that, I've thought about and I keep in the back of my mind. And I pray that, one day it's possible for our people. I just don't feel that it'll ever be possible for me or us in our lifetime.
All right. Yeah, I totally agree. You guys are making me look at things a little differently because I don't even have it on my mind at all. And the reason I don't have my mind because I don't see it happening. But at least there are some people making strides, and there's a representative in Congress, like I said, who made mention of it, brought it to the floor. And then the mayor of Tulsa, Oklahoma, he's trying to make it right for the descendants of that massacre that happened in 1921. Okay.
Yep.
So with the Department of Justice, you know, this is my make me want to holler piece.
Okay.
I don't even know her name. Bondi, is that her name?
Bondi.
Yeah. I mean, what is the deal on? I mean, there's a mass exodus of lawyers or attorneys leaving that agency, and I just don't know why she still thinks she's going in the right direction. I mean, I know she's drumming to the beat of Trump and what he's demanding, eliminating the Civil Rights Division or making it smaller. I mean, where's the justice for that?
The Department of Justice is not the Department of Just Us. It has nothing to do with us. And, it's going to seem like I'm just, I've got this paranoia how we're being treated or how we've been treated. These are unfortunately, we are taking huge steps back because we have a commander in chief who literally nobody wants to really say it out loud. Some of us do, but he's a racist. I mean, let's just keep it real. And he's got one of those inferiority complexes, meaning that he knows where we stand and what we're capable of, and anything he can do to undercut us, he'll do it. And so that being said, he is the Department of Justice. He's got figureheads in there. You do know, Tom, that every appointment he has made, those people had no experience.
Oh, yes.
No idea, no notion about the jobs that they undertook. Because the only thing that they have to do is make sure that the strings that are attached to them are workable. Trump is working the string. Yeah. So essentially what's happening is she pledged, just like Trump made a pledge to follow the Constitution, she pledged that she would be somebody who would be just for justice for all Americans, meaning it would be nonpartisan.
Right.
As positions like those should be. But when you start looking at what the Republican Party has done, what they've done is they've given in their power to one man. And so consequently, when he starts going into museums and eradicating or reducing the opportunity for minorities to get funding and so forth, it's just trying to push us back. And in their mind, make America great again. I mean, that's exactly what that means. Make white men superior. Right under them is white women. And then there's the rest of us. And so there's not much that we can expect in terms of justice from the DOJ, because if, the last opportunity he has is the legal system and the judges, and he's doing everything he can to minimize their power and authority.
Right.
But if the Department of Justice and the FBI, if they're not fair and for all people, then the rest of us are in trouble.
Yeah.
The rest of us are in trouble. So, make me want to holler. What makes me want to holler is that so many people have been willing to look the other way. And it was funny because I had been saying it for a while about how the emperor has no clothes. That old story about how everybody let the emperor know, yeah, man, he's walking around nude, but they're talking about how beautiful his attire is. So this is an emperor has no clothes moment in history. And everybody is literally looking the other way because they have to realize that this guy is an idiot. And he may not be an idiot. I said it because I feel he's an idiot, but I certainly strongly feel he's racist. You cannot convince me otherwise because he's just so anti anybody that's not Caucasian. So to the point of the Department of Justice, if you've just got figureheads and you've got somebody on high, the commander in chief that's dictating every move, and he's coming from a place of racism, how can it be justice? Who is it justice for?
Yeah.
Who's the justice?
Very true. Yeah.
Right. He's not doing the right thing. We all know that.
No, he's weaponized DOJ.
That's a good terminology. He's weaponized.
Right. He's weaponized DOJ to go against anybody that he doesn't like. He calls it revenge, and he's very clear.
Yeah.
He's going for revenge against everybody that did anything against him,
Or
even though
didn't
he's a
campaign for
convicted
him.
felon.
Yep.
You know what I mean? No, so when he says they would do that against anybody that did what you did.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't about you, fascist in chief.
Right.
It was, the law is the law. DOJ is supposed to go after him.
Mm-hmm.
So what he's done is said, okay, and especially with the new bill that just passed the House and now going to the Senate, that's going to circumvent all that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. DOJ, again, has been weaponized against the American public, not just people of color, but anybody who has any grievance against and was wronged by a financial institution,
Mm-hmm.
because he's eliminated the Consumer Protection Financial Agency. You know what I'm talking about?
The one
Yeah.
that Senator Warren had got
Right.
going. Yeah.
Right. Eliminated all of that. He likes fraud. If you commit fraud, you're his mate.
Mm-hmm.
Commit
Mhm.
any type of fraud and be MAGA, we'll get his pardons are said, no MAGA left behind.
Mm-hmm.
Right. DOJ is again, it's not being used in the capacity for which it was formed.
Mm.
Right. Exactly.
So at this point, if Congress has conceded power to the president,
Mm.
the courts are giving him some pushback,
Some.
but not enough to really hold him in check completely.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And it's going to get to the point where if there's no elections next year, which I really don't think there will be,
Mm-hmm.
then you're going to see just how bad it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, I hope you're wrong, man.
I hope I'm wrong too, but I'm hearing it from more people now.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm starting to hear it in the media
Mm-hmm.
from other folks.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
Certainly not another presidential election.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hearing this from, Caucasian folks.
Mm-hmm.
This is not coming from me now. I'm hearing grumblings in the media. Yeah, they're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So if this thing passes the Senate, DOJ, you're at the whim of the president. Oh, and he's now using the DOJ to assist in civil litigation against any police officer
Mm-hmm.
who is sued in civil court.
Not the way it's supposed to work.
Discretion.
Right.
No,
Right.
no. The DOJ, that's not justice. Their job is not to assist cops that have been rightfully litigated against for
Mhm.
their actions.
Mm-hmm.
No, their job is not to assist them, but he is so pro knocking heads.
Mm-hmm.
He's not pro justice. He's not pro law and order.
Mike,
But
he's pro-organized.
Yes, correct. Thank you.
Right?
Right.
Hey, look, the mob has nothing on him.
There you go. He's a convicted felon.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, this is how a convicted felon is going to operate the presidency. So if people can't see that, we're not talking about people of color. If your own party can't see that,
Mm-hmm.
and many of them do see it now,
Mm-hmm.
he's in office.
Yeah.
And even people in his party that he's turned his back on, the poor who voted for him,
Mm-hmm.
they're starting to see there's no justice for them. There's no more Department of Justice. So we got nobody to complain to when something happens.
Right.
And history is going to repeat itself like it always does. What
Mhm.
do people do when they get so fed up, just can't take it anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Revolution.
Yeah,
Revolution?
every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Every single, there's nothing you can do it. History has shown that over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, people gonna rise up.
Yeah.
And if you take away my right to vote, we're gonna have a conversation about these taxes again. Because why am I paying the same tax rate as the white people? And
Yeah.
I'm a second-class citizen.
Right.
I
Right.
don't pay you taxes to erase my history.
Right.
Mm.
I don't pay you taxes to bring over more racists from South Africa. Use my taxes to pay for their government plane and give them some of my tax money when they get here.
Right.
I'm not paying you for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not paying you to brutalize me or people that look like me.
Right.
I'm not paying you to remove the Civil Rights Department of the Department of Justice. I'm not paying you to remove my history from the Smithsonian, which is not your job in the first place.
Right.
The job of the president is to conduct the business of the United States, not to reshape America in his image.
Right. The business of the people.
Ooh.
Not-
Right.
He
Yeah,
said
but
something
that is
there.
not his job.
Yeah.
Reshaping America in the president. That's not the job of the president. Is to reshape anything in his image.
Mm-hmm.
I pay taxes to live in a democracy,
He's
and when you
taking that.
take that away,
Yeah, that's true, Mike. He's taking the idea of the power of the pardon way too far, right?
Right.
Because that was a thing of compassion, but not a
Mhm.
thing of just getting every criminal off. I saw something that he suggested that if Diddy is rightfully convicted, and I can't weigh in on that one way or another, but you know what the media says and what you see on Facebook, but he said that he would pardon Diddy. I mean, that's funny, that's laughable, but that's not what your authority
Right.
is for.
Right.
He's such a power hungry guy. He literally takes it as I can do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. And my God, when they let him in that office, that was the wrong thing to do. Not only once, but twice. But at least before, there were checks and balances, and people in the Republican Party who said, some old school people was like, no, this is not how we do things, sir.
Right.
I know you're a businessman coming in here to try to work it like a business, but there are ways to go about what you're trying to do. Now that those checks and balances are out the window.
The people he surrounds themselves now don't have a clue.
Yeah, they're yes people.
Right.
Yes men and yes women.
Yeah.
So,
Correct.
you know, the former Fox guy who's over the defense.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Alcoholic, womanizer.
Right. Right.
You know, he gets the worst of the worst and gets rid of the finest that they have, because in order to get those positions, you had to have some pedigree.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You had to be knowledgeable. And now all
Right.
you have to be is a friend of his.
That's
Right.
crazy.
Right. Department of Defense needs to be led by a general. Somebody with at least 3 or 4 stars. Somebody that knows what goes on in our defense community.
Right.
I'll leave it alone.
Save the children in Michigan. What is it called? The economic summit they have in the Mackinac Island?
Yeah.
Is that
The
what it's, where our leadership
Mackinac
goes?
Island Policy
Conference?
Conference,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So right now, we had a panel, and the panel discussion was about how do we get our Michigan education ranking down to in the top 10.
Mhm.
Because right now, we're 37th in 4th grade math.
Mm.
We're 44 in 4th grade reading. We're 33 in 8th grade math and 31 in 8th grade reading. I mean, I don't know what they're discussing up there. I didn't get a chance to catch any of that.
Okay.
What do you think they're discussing up there? What do you think they're making as a part of the change in our education system around the state of Michigan? Because it's not just Detroit.
Yeah.
No, it's not just
you know what I mean?
No.
Yeah.
We'll say Michigan.
It's Cadillac. It's,
Right.
it's
Right.
Grand
It's the more
Rapids.
rural areas. Right.
You know?
Brightness.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been bad for so long.
Yes, it
I
has.
mean, the lottery, and there's so much money going into the lottery now. That money was supposed to go towards education. A
Right.
good portion of that money was supposed to go towards education. And so I really don't have a good answer for that. I just know that right now, you say what do I think they're talking about? How do you not pay the educators enough to want to stick and stay?
That's
Well,
what they're talking about.
Really
Yeah.
getting the best representation for educators based on what they earn.
Right.
Right. Yeah. But that's just recent, I think, Keith. That's my opinion recently with the pay scale not being up to par, I guess you could say. Because
Really?
teachers were always going to strike. When I was
Mhm.
going to school, we were out of school a couple of times due to strikes when I was coming through the school system.
So when you went
So-
on a strike, when somebody goes on a strike, what does it mean?
That means they were looking for better pay.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you have to strike if you're making enough money?
No. No.
Begs
But the thing is that it's not, I guess the disparity,
Okay.
now is not as great as it was because, I mean, it looks like it is to me right now when I look at the pay scale from teachers. You can make more money at the plant. But back then, I don't think that was the case. I thought educators got paid more than people were inside of the plant. Mike
I
saying
don't
no.
think that was
No.
ever true.
No, that
No.
was never true.
That was never
Mm-mm.
true.
No, my grandfather in 1972 was making $80,000 a year
What?
as a janitor at GM.
What?
Now I want you to think about that. See,
1972?
that I can show you a paycheck stub.
I know.
Right.
That's
I'm sorry, I
crazy.
said paycheck stub.
Tax return?
W-2 or tax. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was cleaning up, I found all this old stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
Daddy James, you was making that kind of money? I had no idea. Because my grandfather was a simple man.
Right.
I didn't know.
Right.
You know, he never bought a fancy car. He never did. He never flashed in any way, shape, or form.
Mm.
Yet when he passed, my grandmother was set for life.
Mm.
And then when she died, there was still money for me, my brother, and her son.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, after everything we went through with her. But
Right.
my point is, back to what you said, Tom, what are they doing in Mackinac about the education
What are they doing?
in Michigan?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I did read this, they were talking about salaries, signing bonuses,
Mm-hmm.
doing something with class sizes, the same stuff that we've been hearing for the last 40 or 50 years.
Forever.
Right.
But now it's more acute because we're using many school districts are using unlicensed teachers, to fill in for the licensed teachers.
Mm-hmm.
When they're off or as a substitute or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not bad. Well, it is bad, but that's the best they can do. They have to do the best they can with what they have to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they have to work with.
Mm-hmm.
So the information that I did look at, I didn't look at a lot that was coming out of Mackinac, but the little bit that I did see did suggest that, they were talking about it, raising teachers' salaries and signing bonuses. And like I said, the same old thing, but
Mm-hmm.
nothing much, nothing. It's not a lot you can do to make people want to become teachers
Right.
until you give them.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that salary is a huge issue.
It's
Because
true.
many teachers have to use their portions of their salary to get supplies for their students.
Right.
And that is right. That's a huge issue. But,
Mhm.
there are other things, but there's no easy answer.
Mm-hmm.
There's no easy answer. I think, my personal opinion, if you raise the salaries high enough, if we value the teachers to the point where we're paying them $80,000, $90,000 a year or whatever the figure is, then you'll get people interested in wanting to become educators because they can make a living at doing that.
Absolutely.
You see what I mean? If I can make a living at doing that, then I'll become interested in doing that. And if I know I can't make a living at that, I know then if I do that, it may be something I want to do, but I'm probably going to have to get a second job doing something else.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Then I might not go into that profession.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, right. I think salary is the number one issue.
Mm-hmm.
You get those salaries, what we value in society has to change. Our teachers have to be valued more, and we have to pay them in accordance with that. And that means $80,000, $90,000, even $100,000 a year salary. If that's what it takes,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it takes.
Mhm.
Because this is a new time.
Mhm.
$20,000, $30,000, $40,000 ain't gonna do it.
Mhm.
20 ain't gonna do nothing. 30 is not gonna do nothing. 40
Right.
is not doing nothing. A person making $65,000 a year can't afford a mortgage.
Right.
So if I'm a teacher and I can't afford a mortgage, and I don't have to have a big house,
Mm-hmm.
just a
Right.
modest house. But if
Right.
I'm a teacher and I can't even afford a modest house, because
Absolutely.
this
That's
one
nothing
ain't
different.
doing it.
And Tom,
Right.
what about public school versus privatization? Vouchers.
The
That's
charter school
pulling
stuff.
charter school
Yeah.
money's away from places like the inner city, where you have mostly public schools, and unfortunately, they don't have the best in them.
Right.
To the fact that teachers have to use their own income, their own money, to supply or help supply kids with books, pencils, paper, whatever they need to learn. So I know the option of how are we going to proceed if monies are taken away from the public school system to fund charter schools via vouchers.
But I thought the money follows the child, that the
Mhm.
dollars follow the child. So what about the parents who homeschool their kids? They get a stipend or something like that, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Right.
So if a parent pulls a student out of that particular district and puts them in a charter school or puts them in another district, the money just follows the kid. That's what I thought happens.
That's
Okay.
what I thought. Yeah, I
Okay.
think that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. But if you're in a public school that doesn't have just the basic books and so forth that the kids need, you'd probably be inclined to pull your child out of that school and send him or her to some place that has adequate staff,
Right.
adequate learning materials. And so I'm sure that's got to be a part of the conversation. What's the name of the woman that's over education now? I think Linda McMahon, I want to say.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
she doesn't know much about education.
No.
But
Neither did the last one he had in there. With
No.
the DeVos.
DeVos. Right.
So, it make me want to holler, man, because the thing is, everything has been politicized. They really don't. When I say they, I don't mean at the conference that you were referring to, but in general, they just don't really have the kids' best interests at heart. I don't feel, because there are just so many things that we, including, us parents, I don't have any young school age kids, but, we all have to take a greater interest in terms of making sure that they're receiving what they need so that they can get the proper education. Mike talked last week about just even nourishment, just being able to provide a meal so that when they're in school, they're not hungry, right? And they're focused on learning and not when am I going to eat, or I wish I had something to eat. I'm sure there's a lot of balls up in the air in terms of what they're trying to address to see what they can do to improve on those numbers, because we've been bad a long time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We haven't represented as a state for a long time.
Right. I have to assume that private schools numbers are not in that calculation for those scores.
I don't know.
I
can't say.
If that's the case, I mean, they might be holding the numbers up and the numbers could be a lot worse.
How about that?
Yeah. That's really scary.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But it's not to pit private against public, because of the cost of going to a private school these days are just crazy. I mean, the school around the corner from you, Keith, they're probably at 20,000.
Number specifically, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Right. And UAD High School back in Detroit, my old neighborhood, they got to be 15,000 a year. That's just high school. I can't imagine what parents are paying for private school, primary education.
What's that, K through 5 and then middle school?
Right.
Out here, they're paying a pretty penny to put their kids through those schools.
Right. But I mean, but the teachers that are in those schools, do you think they're let me put it to you this way. If you had a teacher who came from Harvard and went to DPS or GPS, Grand Rapids, or GRPS, as an educator, and against Catholic Central in Grand Rapids and Catholic Central in Detroit, why does it have to be so different in the education? I guess I know those schools have resources, and that's probably the reason. So I'm probably answering my own question. But if you have teachers who come from Harvard, it goes through the public school system and not go to a private school and puts the same effort into those kids, shouldn't it be the same result, the outcome for those kids?
You're talking about in terms of the structure of teaching and lessons?
Yeah.
Let me just hypothetically ask, how many Harvard educated?
Probably zero. I mean, but if that was the case, though, what if just like doctors, right now, doctors who graduate, they get a stipend, they get their tuition waived if they go to an Indian reservation or if they go to an urban community. So if you go to Harvard and you got $250,000 in debt and you say, okay, we're going to wipe your debt if you go to teach in the public school system.
Okay.
So that's how they got there.
Okay.
The curriculums in the two. Okay, let me back up. First off, the funding. A lot of school systems are funded by local property taxes.
Correct.
In Michigan.
Right.
Grand Rapids, if you have a more stable tax base, that is a community of homeowners, as opposed to a tax base which is not so stable. That is a community of some homeowners, but mostly renters
Mm-hmm.
who are moving from place to place.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a stable tax base. So that Harvard educated, and maybe would go to the Detroit school to get their debt removed. I'm sure that teacher would rather go to Grand Rapids, where it's a more stable tax base, where the salaries are more stable, and the kids are coming to school ready to learn.
Mm-hmm. It's a different challenge.
Yes, when you're a homeowner or a community of homeowners, your children they're more stable. They do better because they know what elementary they're going to. They know what junior high they're going to. They pretty much know what high school they're going to. They know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And they govern themselves accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to a community where you don't have as many homeowners. You have renters moving from school to school. Those kids generally have lower test scores
Mm-hmm.
because they're going from one school to another, not necessarily with the exact same curriculum,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing they got to make new friends at each school,
Mm-hmm.
learn new teachers, learn a new way of socialization,
Mm-hmm.
so that they have a lot of things thrown at them, and their test scores and their learning ability is diminished because there's so much else going on. They don't have an expectation of what's going to happen next. What's going to happen next? I don't know. I'm in survival mode.
Survival.
Whereas if I'm in a Grand Rapids school and I come from a home where it's a community of homeowners, okay, I know I go to X school and my middle school is right over here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And the worry of, oh, I got to make new friends. No, you know what to expect. Your tested study after study has shown that this is the case. So communities, we're back to Tom's question about the Harvard educated teacher. Right. Yeah. They're going to choose, if they could, the community where the kids are coming ready to learn.
But that's probably not going to be the option for them.
Correct.
That's probably not going to be the option for them to have the choice. If you may have to go to the community that's in the need, whether it be Port Huron, Muskegon,
Right.
East Lansing, or Ypsilanti. They're not
Correct.
probably not going to get placed in Ann Arbor, Grand Rapids.
Unless they're just an opening, and they just luck into it.
Right. But if the scores in those communities are above average, that's not a community in need.
Right.
Now, again, not pitting private against public. I think the resources at private school are just, outnumbering the resources that are at a public school system.
100%. There's no
Yeah.
question.
And what I found interesting, I didn't know this was even going on in Michigan. Did you know that private schools are getting public money?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. Public money for public education is
In what way?
right. And I was shocked to find out that this is going on.
No, Mike. I say what?
So how's it going?
Is it for operations or for?
I am not sure about that
Yeah.
because I got so mad. I just had to turn it off when I saw, this was on Channel 4.
Okay.
This is some months ago, but yes, what happened? Some well-to-do parents, I guess, sued in some way, but they were able to get a voucher for their kid to go to a private school. And their argument was, I'm paying taxes. Shouldn't some of my tax money go to my child at a private school? Well, no, it should. Public money for public schools is just that. That tax money is not for private schools. That's for public schools. If you want to use your tax money for your child's education, send them to a public school.
But that's what the voucher system is about, though. And that's all they kind of peck away at, trying to diminish the public schools. They're already behind in terms of money allocated, right? Like you said, Mike, if the tax base is such that there's transients in the community and there's not consistent tax money coming through, then you're not going to be funded the same way. But
Correct.
to your point earlier, Tom, you said the money goes with the kid. So if
Right.
there's a voucher attached to that kid and they go to a private school, why wouldn't that money go to a private school? I'm not,
Right.
I'm not arguing,
No,
I'm
no,
just saying the logic of it.
Right, but the law was that money could only go for a public school or trade or something like that. You couldn't use it for private schools.
Mhm.
And the reason was because private schools are funded by very well-to-do people.
No, there's no question.
So if you can afford to send your child to a private school,
Right.
they just wanted more money.
But let me ask you this question, Mike. Was it private schools or was it a charter school?
It was private. This was private schools.
Mm.
So they're already paying the tuition. They can already afford the tuition to send their child to that private school. But
Okay.
they wanted more. Just like these attorneys and judges who had children and they didn't want to pay for the college education. They could afford it, but they weren't going to pay for it. So what they did was they had a family member who was not as fortunate
Mhm.
to adopt them on
Mm.
paper. Right, on paper. So now this child is not eligible for some grants or for some public money to go to school. And the attorneys and the judges didn't have to pay. A number of them were doing this,
Mhm.
and they were caught.
Mm.
This was in the news some time ago, but it's legal.
Mhm.
What?
Yes, it's
Well,
legal.
yeah, I guess it
It's
is
legal.
legal.
So they couldn't stop them. So they just
Right.
called them out, but they couldn't stop them.
Right.
Right. So people game the system to get money for people who can afford to
Mhm.
send their children to school.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They still want a handout.
Mhm.
They still want a handout, you know. And who are these people? MAGA. So, you know, like Tom said, or like you said, Tom, you know, it doesn't seem like our kids' interests are really, oh, that was you, Keith, that our
Yeah.
kids' interests being, you know, top of mind. You know, everybody's got their special interest as to getting some of this money, you know, public money, and they do whatever they can to get it.
Mhm.
So, like you said, we just have to be hold our legislators a little bit more accountable
Mhm.
as to where our money is being spent in terms of public education.
Yeah.
Make sure it's going to the schools, to the public schools, and not to private schools, because these people are already rich. They're getting richer by the day. They can afford to send their students to these private schools. They don't need this public money.
Mhm.
All right. Yeah. Well, I've always said my soapbox has always been is that, you know, I don't mind paying taxes, but I do want you to be responsible with the dollars I send you.
Right.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah. That's been my stance from day one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The other thing that's attached to that statement is how engaged you are in the process or the system, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
now you go back to, do you participate? One, do you vote? Do you go to teacher conferences?
Uh-oh.
And do you go to some of these board meetings that they have so that you can have your opinion known? And when I say you, I don't necessarily mean specifically you, Tom. I'm
Right.
just because at the end of the day, it's not on the kids, but it's
Right.
up to us as parents to be knowledgeable enough to know, to Mike's point, where our dollars are going and how they're being used and whether or not somebody is tapping into the dollars that are allocated for our children.
Right.
Because a scam is a scam.
Right.
And when you're talking about the least of these, if you're underrepresented, then that's like walking around with your eyes closed. You know, somebody taking advantage of you every time they get a chance. And so there's a lot tied into who's really representing the least of these. Because those people are transient and they're moving all around. Are they even there long enough to even express any interest to make sure that their kids are getting what they truly deserve?
No, they don't have time because they see the reason that they're moving around is because, you know, rent is high.
Yeah.
Right. Constantly, they're in survival mode too. You know what I mean? Trying to survive too. And that's why they're moving around like that and not stable in a home.
Yeah.
You know,
Hey, that,
There's a segment out there of people who are homeowners
Mhm.
who vote down millages
Mhm.
they do.
because they don't have any kids or never had any kids or
Right.
the kids are grown and gone away. But
Mhm.
they don't think of the quality of education or the quality of the community that they're living in. because people don't show up if there's not a quality education system in that community.
They don't think about it until they go to the drive-through and the person can't even count the correct change.
And that's the truth.
Right. You know, they didn't even think about it. Oh,
Right.
you went to the
Right.
same school, not around the corner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Right. They'll think about it then.
And Mike, that's really full circle though. And what I mean by that, and it kind of ties into everything that Mike has been saying, is reparations could level that a little bit because we're starting off way behind the 8 ball. I mean, in every way, whether it be the communities we live in, the schools that are educating our children, or maybe not so much educating our children. And that's in large part is and has been for years by design. It's by design. It's not happenstance. It goes back to, you know, we started off when somebody is building something on your back, you brought over here as a slave.
Yeah.
They take everything from you, your name, culture, everything. And now, you know, you working, not getting paid. 400 years, Mike, 400 years, a long time, right? Generations. And now we're supposed to catch up. And we're not even talking about Jim Crow attached to that 400, right?
Right.
We're not talking about even today, MAGA, talking about Make America Great Again. And so in a lot of ways, when you talk about how we're going to really look out for and take care of the kids, we're starting from a disadvantaged point. And economics plays a big part in terms of what you're able to do and how you're able to provide for your family and your children. And that includes a good education. You know, because if I plunk down in this community just because it's the only place I can afford, and you go to the school and the school isn't all that it's supposed to be, understaffed, you know, under budget, very little equipment or materials to teach the children, then that's just a really, really, really bad cycle, right?
Right.
And so we point at people that look like us and say, man, they're no good. They, you know, they're niggers, right? Because niggers really means shiftless and lazy, right? If you look it up. And then we continue to look at that vicious cycle and we try to make it better. And then we take one step up, but we get pushed 3 steps back.
Right.
We got to continue to fight for the kids. We got to fight for ourselves. But as we fight for ourselves, we're fighting for the ones that are coming behind us.
Yeah.
We just can't give in to status quo and what they're trying to do because it's sleight of hand, man.
Right.
You know,
Right.
So it's, you know, it makes me want to holler, brother.
At the same time, you're saving the children. But on that note, gentlemen, it's been a good conversation. I appreciate it. And I look forward to next week.
It's always good to talk to you guys.
Yes, sir.
To learn more about today's topics, become a subscriber, text us, or become a supporter. Go to the show description. That's all the time we've got this week. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with the What's Going On podcast.